go ahead and showcase you where this content is coming from, right? And how it is gelling along with your existing business operations, right? So here, all of these tabs that you see over here right now, they are powered across by these various different B2B suppliers. So as a part of a default offering, so when you take across the solution from us, right, you would already get the inventory from these particular suppliers already plugged in into your website. And the best part is whatever rates that you currently have in your own TBO login or in your own GRN login or in your own ClearTrip login, those are the very same rates that would be displayed over here, right? So you can go ahead and make that particular decision making easy for the traveler. Let's look at how, right? So let's assume that Joe is in Bangalore, right? He walks into my agency, right? He tells to me that, hey, I would like to plan a 4-day trip tomorrow, Sameer, right? What is that you can recommend? So ideally, we have identified that the customers would only come to you in two formats, right? You would be having the first form of customer who will tell you that, hey, I want to travel to, let's say, Coorg. I want to travel to, let's say, Munnar, right? And then there will be a second format of the customer who really doesn't knows where he wants to travel. So that's when we select across Inspire Me. So let's assume that Joe doesn't know where he wants to travel.
Yeah,
Right?
actually inspire me because I've traveled quite a bit, so I don't know why to travel now.
Absolutely. So let's see what the system throws us at us, Joe, right? So go ahead and select it here on a road trip. Let's say that Joe would like to do sightseeing, and let's take, he would like to stay at good hotels. So he's obviously VP business development right here. So he would stay at good hotels, right? So I'll go ahead and select a random budget. And let's see what the system goes ahead and gives us, right? So here is what's happening right now. So just like what a typical travel consultant's mental model is, right? So when a problem like this is thrown across, so the travel consultant does following things. First is he goes ahead and identifies, okay, so what are all the drivable distances from Bangalore that Joe can travel to? And once I've gone ahead and identifies those particular destinations, I will basically figure out what are the destinations which are known for sightseeing. If Joe would have asked me for adventure, then my recommendations would have been very different over here. Or if Joe would have asked for relaxation, then my recommendations would have been very different. Now here, our system has gone ahead and figured out that, all right, there are 12 such destinations that Joe can drive from Bangalore in and around the vicinity of that particular destination. And it has gone ahead and showcased us a bunch of results. Now, what are these results? So some of there are the usual suspects, right? So you have Gola, you have Munnar, right? So Mangalore is new. You have Pondicherry, you have Chennai, Alleppey. Okay, so Mamalapuram is new, right? So you have this list of entire options, right? Which is suggested by the customer. Now this comes in very handy, right? Wherein, let's say your travel consultant goes ahead and recommends a couple of options to the customer. Your customer, after consulting with his family and friends, right, comes back to the travel consultant and says that, that, hey, I would like a couple of more options, right? And when there is a third round and the fourth round of iteration, which is generated, right, where the customer wants to ask more options from you, but is hesitant, right, because he already feels the guilt that he has already asked you so many options, right? If he should really go ahead and ask you certain more options or not. At the same point of time, the motivation of a travel consultant dips with each of the new requests which is shared across by the customer, right? Here, in one particular instance, right, imagine a situation where the customer, before he even keeps the call, you have this entire bunch of 12 recommendations which are generated. You can put across his email address and send it across to the customer. Another interesting aspect is that the system is not just built for India. The system is built for the world, right? And just like how Joe was highlighting, right, we have customers who we have more than 350 customers across 32 different countries, right? That means the system is as equally relevant for your customer or for Millie, right, who is based in London, right? And let's assume that she has some customers in London and the customers in London want some suggestions and options from Millie, right? So she can go ahead and generate these recommendations in an instance like that, right? And not just that, the system will also display across the prices in the regional currency, right? So that's one. Now, another interesting aspect over here is that if you see, we have gone ahead and ranked these particular destinations, right? So the Goa has been given as rank 1, Munnar has been given as rank 2, right? So what's all this about, right? So here, we follow across a very simple philosophy. So just like how you will go ahead and type a search term on, let's say, Google, right? And the most relevant results would be generated on top, right? So here, what's the logic behind, let's say, suggesting a customer that why Goa might be number one in comparison to, let's say, Munnar, right? So there are a bunch of other factors, right? So the two primary factors what we have is the traveler safety index, which is the most relevant concern for the customers right now, right? So rather than saying to the customer that, hey, sir, everything is fine right now, right? You can definitely visit Goa, right? So I can go ahead and support that with factual data, right? So I can say that, okay, so I have seen that, that this is the kind of the total cases that we have seen in Goa so far, right? This is the kind of the air quality that you can expect. These are the kind of the health and the medical infrastructure overall situation that you will find in Goa. And combining an average of all of this, we come at a traveler safety index. So a traveler safety index moves on a scale from red to green. So the greener the destination means safer to travel. That when the destination is in red, it's not recommended for you to travel. So it makes the decision making again that easier for you. Here, the second factor is what we consider is that how many people have that intent to travel, let's say from Bangalore to Goa. What's the kind of predictive weather that would be there in Goa, right? When is the best time to visit Goa? Ideally, for how many days you should visit that particular destination for. So all of that in a nutshell. And when you go ahead and email this entire thing to the customer, it looks like this. So it will go out in this beautiful PDF format with your branding on it, right? With the basic destination content, with the tentative pricing information for that destination. How would you get there? Where would you stay at? And what are the general expenses that you can expect within that destination? So something as simple as, let's say, the taxi cost or a gas cost or a coffee cost or a Coke cost and all of that. And not just for a single destination, you can go ahead and share this across for the entire page, which is generated out here. So this document becomes like the personalized brochure, which I have created for Joe right now, right? And Joe then would have the option basically to select whatever option that he likes from here and then go ahead and finalize it. So let's say, let us ask Joe, right? So Joe, would you like to plan an international trip or something?
Oh, yeah. With my wife, yeah. The Paris.
All right. Okay. All right. So here, Joe has specifically indicated us that he would like to travel to Paris. Now, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to take the origin city still as Bangalore, or we can take it something new, right? So let's take it from Mumbai, right? Just to show you the global applicability of it. So would you like to spend winter in Paris, Joe?
Yes.
So let's take 15th to 22nd. Let's say, okay, let me take 21st. So we have, okay, so just traveling along with his wife and he would like to travel to, let's say, Paris. Gonna send Paris. Continue. Some random tentative budget, right? Which would make sense for us to go ahead and create that particular trip and go ahead and select next. Now here, the difference in the search is that since Joe has specified us clearly that he would like to travel to Paris, right? System is right now trying to figure out, how do I get to Paris, right? Where would Joe be staying at Paris that matches across with his budget criteria? And what are the various different things that Joe can do, right? Which have the main theme as a sightseeing. And this is where our system is far more evolved than any other OTA in the world, right? While other OTAs will throw across the bunch of destinations, right? Or the bunch of content, right? That, hey, these are the 50 different options, how you can travel between Mumbai and Paris, right? On flight, these are the 500 different hotel options in Paris, right? From where you can select from. And these are the bunch of 1,000 different activities in Paris that you can do, right? Our system is going ahead and figuring out right now, what would be the most right choices for Joe to travel to Paris from Bombay. As you can see over here, our system is going ahead and figured out what would be the most appropriate flight out of all the flights which are operating between Bombay and Paris. What would be the ideal stay where he can put up, right? And what would be the day-wise activities, what Joe should do. Now here, if you see why we have ranked this particular Emirates flight as number one, right? Here, we have the clear indicators given out here that this particular flight, which is there on Emirates, is cheaper than the other flights by 98.61%, right? So there are out of the 100 flights, right? So this particular flight scores higher when the cheaper criteria is concerned. This particular flight is not necessarily the fastest, but it still scores across 90.74% on the flight criteria. So basically, if you see, what we have done here is that we have gone ahead and taken across a human intent into account, right? So rather than showcasing the cheapest available flight on the top, we have taken a very different approach altogether. So we have taken across human intent into account. So how do travelers actually go ahead and select a particular flight, right? So when I am personally selecting flights, right, I basically figure out multiple different factors into consideration, or consider multiple different factors. Will this particular flight get me into the destination right around my time of the hotel's check-in? Or will this particular flight is cheaper than the others, or this particular flight is faster than the others, right? Does this particular flight has a least amount of stopover in comparison to the other flights? So as you can see over here, our system has already done that bunch of calculations on the back end, right? So, okay. So yeah, so basically out of 216 different recommendations, or 216 different flight combinations, right, which are possible, right, our system has gone ahead and figured out that this particular flight, which is there on Emirates, would be the best for the passenger, right? So there are 17 such factors which the system takes into account. This is a patent pending algorithm for which we have filed a patent with the Indian Patent Organization as well for this ranking mechanism. Now, this is the thing with the hotels, right? So all of you come from various different cities, right? So we have people, we have Otto joining in from South Africa, right? We have a bunch of people joining in across from various different parts of the continent on this demo call, right? Now, if I, let's say, ask across Joe, right? Joe, what would be, let's say, the best hotel in Bangalore within a budget of 5,000 rupees per night? Which area would you recommend me?
Probably somewhere on MG Road, around that side.
Right. The reason, Joe, why you were able to give across that answer instantaneously back to me is that you are so super aware of that locality out there, right? Yep. Now, however, this is not usually the case, right? So let's say a customer walks into our office, right, and asks me, right, what's the best hotel that I can get in Vladivostok, right, in Russia, within a budget of, let's say, 200 euros per night. Here, I'm clueless, right? So either I have to rely on two different things. So first, I will go ahead and email it across to my DMC that what would be the best possible option in Vladivostok, right? And the second option is that I go across on a bunch of review websites, right? I go across on TripAdvisor, I try and read a bunch of blogs and then try and figure out what's the most happening locality within, let's say, Vladivostok, and then go ahead and recommend across something to the customer. Here, our system does that job for you in the instance, right? So out of 756 different properties which are available in Paris, right, our system has figured out that, okay, this particular property might be ranking as number one considering the budget that you have, right? So it takes across two primary factors into consideration. So it takes across location score and it takes across the review score, right? Here, our system has identified within the budget that I have, this Les Lapines Blanc is having a very good location score. And that's where the geospatial data comes into play, right? Where we go ahead and put across a certain score for location, how strategically placed that particular hotel is within that city. And as you can see, that this particular hotel is close to Notre Dame, it's close to Eiffel, right? All of those places. Now comes the review part, right? So reviews can be tricky, right? So if I go ahead and search for a review on a TripAdvisor, I can see a bunch of reviews written across for this particular 4-star hotel, right? So there might be, let's say, 200 different reviews, right? If I go on booking.com, right, there could be another 300 reviews and the ratings could be different altogether. So here, what we do is that we take a combined average of the ratings from Booking and TripAdvisor, right? And put across the average, right? And rather than rating a hotel as 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, and 5-star, we go ahead and rank these particular hotels on a scale of 0 to 100. And why is that so? The reason is when, let's say, I have to go ahead and compare, let's say 2 or 4 stars, right? Which is having, let's say, very good hotel reviews and stuff like that, right? So how do I go ahead and compare between two similar 4-star properties, right? So over here, the customer can ask, right, is Holiday Inn better or is Mercure better? So how do you make a decision around that? So with the help of these scores, the decision making is very simple, right? Here, just by looking at these two reviews, I know for a fact that Holiday Inn Paris is marginally better with respect to reviews, but it is significantly better when it comes to the location score. So my obvious choice is selecting this Holiday Inn from here. At the same point of time, right, we have this inventory, like I said to you, is coming across from GRN Connect and TBO, right? And this is coming at the very same rates what are available within your own login. Now, traditionally, what happens is that I recollect my days at Rotella. When I used to work, I used to open across a bunch of different supplier portals, right? And then I used to compare manually that, which of the particular pricing might be cheaper in which particular account. Here, our system does the job for you, right? Here, I don't need to look out for which particular room might be cheaper, right? So I can have two room types, right, with the same name, right? So this is a room with the 2 twin beds. This is a room with the 2 twin beds. I know for a fact that, okay, this is coming from an X supplier. This is naturally cheaper. So saves tons of my operational time out there, right? So that's how I go ahead and select the hotels. Now, with respect to the activities, right, this is the most beautiful part of the system, right? Here, the most painful task in any travel consultant's daily job is how do you go ahead and create the day-wise itinerary? Here, our system, with the help of NLP, identifies what might be the sightseeing which might be most appealing to you. And then it goes ahead and categorizes those particular activities in a day-wise manner over here, right? So you don't have to go ahead and create and put across these activities, right? And then later come to know that, that particular sightseeing was not operating on that day, right? Now you have to go ahead and issue the refund, right? The passenger was standing, that no bus came and all that stuff, right? So system takes care of a lot of those factors, right? Where it tries and avoids the operational hassles which are generally faced across. And not only that, the system will not only showcase across these paid activities, it will go ahead and also showcase you across the free activities as well. So for an example, let's say if I go to Istanbul, right, I go to, let's say this Bosphorus Strait, right, that bridge, right, now, or let's say if I go to Delhi, right, I go to India Gate, right. So the India Gate doesn't have any ticket to attach to it, right. But if I go to New Delhi and don't go to India Gate, right, people will ideally, laugh at me that, that you haven't seen the most iconic monument in that particular city. So a system takes care of those particular aspects as well, where it goes ahead and suggests across the free attractions which you can choose. At the same point of time, then I have the ability to go ahead and modify and delete and all of that stuff from here as well. Similarly, I have the ability to go ahead and add the return airport transfers as well from here, right? System already picks up across what's the most suitable time for my arrival pickup as per my flight timings and the departure pickup for my departure flight timings. And then goes ahead and recommends me across the bunch of all the SIC transfers and the private transfers which Paris has to offer. And from here, I can go ahead and select it and then go about doing my job, right? Also very handy in going ahead and creating across a multi-city itinerary, right? So let's say if you want to go ahead and send across Joe from Paris also to Nice, right? Now, these are what the system will do is that system will first go ahead and recommend you what are the most ideal options that you can travel from Paris. But let's say if those options are not here, I always have the option to go ahead and create another itinerary from Paris to Nice, right? Where it will go ahead and figure out how do you get, let's say, from Paris to Nice, right? Where you should stay in Nice, right? All of those factors. Okay. So let me just... Okay.
So if I may just add a few points here, Samir.
Sure. Yep.
As a travel consultant, I've been working for the last 24 years. One of the largest or biggest concerns for us was assuming a customer walks into your shop, let's say on a Thursday, and say, I want to go to Paris.
Right.
And then you send an email. Thursday you are busy. You send an email to the DMC on Friday.
Right.
Yeah. The DMC is busy on Friday. Saturday, Sunday, the DMC doesn't work there.
Right.
Monday, he replies back.
Okay? Right. Correct.
Tuesday, you've got everything, but there's one thing which is missing, which you again ask for him for a reply or a question to the DMC.
Right.
He replies back immediately. Right. Wednesday, you put everything together, type the day-wise itinerary, and Thursday, you're able to send a quotation to your client. So this is what typically has to happen. So from previous Thursday to next Thursday, you've lost 7 working days or you've lost a week to reply back to the customer.
Absolutely.
Now, the system that Samir has just shown, and in fact, the entire thing comes as a PDF now. It's a matter of 2-3 minutes that you can give. And these are all real-time inventories, real-time hotel bookings, real-time sightseeing and transfers, which is combined into a dynamic package.
Right.
Yeah?
Absolutely, Joe. Right. So I think the fundamental thing what the system is able to do is that it tries and let's say reduce the dependability of having a destination expert within the travel agency. So like if I only have, let's say, a Europe expert, right, and the Europe expert is not available for that day, right, my queries are delayed till the time he comes back to the office, right? Here our system is so intelligent that it will give across the most appropriate recommendations, right, without having a zero knowledge. So I really don't have any clue how do I reach from Paris to Nice, right? So the system itself has gone ahead and recommended me the flight. System has gone ahead and recommended me what hotels to stay at and what activities to stay at. And I can go ahead and email this entire itinerary to the customer in this beautiful PDF brochure format like this, right, which goes across with the destination content, right? Why are we recommending you that particular trip? The estimated expenses, food expenses, and the traveling expenses within that destination, right? Your travel summary, right? With your flight details, with your baggage details, right? With your hotels, right? Your device activity, along with the activity description for that particular day, right? So I do recollect my days in working with operations, right? Where it used to take me almost like, let's say, half a day to curate like, let's say, 1 14-day itinerary trip to Europe, right? And my recommendations were also pretty repetitive, right? I used to give across those very same hotels in Paris, very same hotels in Zurich to the customers, right? But with this, I can bring across lots of variation in my content and share it across with the entire customer, right? So this is all about the front end, right? Now let's look at some back end magic, right? Now, as Joe has told you, right? And I have told you earlier as well, right? There are only three things that you need to remember from this platform, what you can take home, right? First is you go ahead and create a website. The second thing is that it comes built along with its extranet inbuilt, like this one, right? Now, here is where your relationships come in, right? So I know for a fact that, that even large OTAs, right, with their tremendous amount of marketing managers in each of those destinations cannot beat you at a certain places, at a certain product, right? Because these are the relationships that you have built with the hotels. These are the relationships that you have built with the activity providers over a period of time where you have gone ahead and have these special relationships and special rates at your end. Here, you can go ahead and simply upload across all of that content from here, and not just upload that content over here, right? You also have the ability to go ahead and distribute this across to 350 plus websites that we have across all over the world. So how does this looks like, right, on the front end, right, when the customer goes ahead and searches for something, right? Let me just show you a quick example, and then we'll bring this entire thing to conclusion. So let's say that I have a customer in Dubai, right, who's looking for sightseeing, right? And you have got this very beautiful rate for Dubai sightseeing tours, right, which you have from your suppliers. What you do is that you go ahead and upload across that Dubai city tour over here as a content, right? Make it accessible to all. That means other travel agents also now have access to your content. So suddenly our platform becomes like a distribution medium to you as well. And what happens is that while the system will go ahead and recommend across all the activities that you can possibly do and the entire day plan for Dubai while you are out there, this itinerary or this activity that you have uploaded on the back end would also be showcased across under the list of all the activities which would be available for Dubai, right? So that means under the special deals, your Dubai city, right? And that's how you can go ahead and basically sell across or merge your DMC rate contracts and all of that stuff into the front end as well, right? And that's how you have the ability to go ahead and sell across multiple different products, right, at the same point of time. So yeah, that's pretty much about the front end over here.